to Inner Peace Better Health, where resilience meets optimism and small steps lead to extraordinary change. I'm your host, Saima, and today's guest is inspiring Zander Sprague, licensed professional clinical counselor, motivational speaker, and author of Epic Begins with One Step Forward. With a signature blend of clinical insight and personal storytelling, Zander empowers individuals to embrace growth, overcome adversity, and live epic lives. So tonight we dive into how just one small step, the transformative phrase not yet and the 97-3 rule can reshape your perspective and fuel your journey forward. So Xander, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here.
Oh, super. You're warmly welcome. So Xander, let's start with like your mantra epic begins with one step feels so simple yet profound. So why is starting small often the key to big transformation?
Well, I think it's if you think about it, any journey does begin with just one step forward. And it oftentimes when we think about making a big change, some epic change in our life, we think about how big that is and how hard that may be, or how hard we perceive it to be. But the fact of the matter is that oftentimes that first step is not nearly as hard as you thought it would be. And then you say, well, that wasn't too hard. Let me take another step. And pretty soon you're taking lots of steps. You're moving along towards your epic goal.
Mm-hmm. So can you just, share a personal story where just one small step unlocked major momentum for you?
Absolutely. So we all have bucket lists in our life. And one of mine was I wanted to complete a marathon. But 26.2 miles is a really long way. And I thought, how am I ever going to learn how to do this? And I'd been running on my own, but really not that far. And I was like, well, I need some help. I need some training. And that first epic step for me there was I discovered Team in Training, which is a fundraising side of the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. And when I joined them, I was handed a training schedule that made my whole journey of getting to run my first marathon that much easier. Why? Because it was structured and it made it easy. I would look at it and it might say, go out and run for 30 minutes. So I'd go run for 30 minutes. Then I was done for the day. I didn't have to worry about how I was going to be able to run 26.2 miles. The miles would go up. Now, sometimes on Saturday, we had our long run. Maybe it was a 12-mile run. That's really far. And I'm not saying that was an easy run, but all along the way, I just had to take one step at a time. And I discovered when I look back after my first month that I was able to run much farther than I had before. And it just didn't seem all that hard because I was just doing one step at a time.
Mm-hmm. You know, Xander, that truth, that movement, not magnitude, creates momentum, and that feels so freeing, right?
Absolutely. I mean, we all have epic things that we want to achieve in our life. We've all said multiple times, someday I'd like to write a book, perhaps run a marathon or travel somewhere. And oftentimes we keep saying, oh, someday I'm going to do it. Well, I'm all about make it today. Start your epic journey today so that you can go do these epic things. A funny thing is, most of us have already done epic things in our life, but we don't really think of them as being epic when we're asked about, oh, what have you done that's great? I'll give a simple one for everyone. We know how to write. Writing is learning how to write. If you remember back in elementary school, at first was really difficult. But if you're an adult, you probably don't think that much about how to make an A or a B or a C. That's a pretty epic achievement to learn how to write and to communicate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that completely makes sense, Sandra. Now, you introduced the phrase not yet as a powerful mindset tool, right? So, how did it shift the way we face challenges or setbacks?
Well, I think not yet should be your partner because oftentimes our epic journeys take time for us to achieve. So I'll take writing a book. I've been fortunate to write and publish 3 books, and that process takes a long time. And it's not just the writing part, it's the editing of the book and preparing it to be released. And when people would ask, "Oh, has your book come out?" Not yet. Doesn't mean that it's not coming out. If I just said no, no is so final. It ends right there. Whereas not yet says, "I'm working on it." Most of us are works in progress. And so it takes us time. I'll give a much more concrete example, which is when you enter university and you're going for a degree, you don't go up to someone who just started university and say, "Well, do you have your degree yet?" Because we understand that there's a 4 or 6 year process that's going to happen in order for you to earn that degree. So there isn't that expectation that the moment you start, you're going to be finished. Well, on our epic journeys, some of them are going to take us time. A personal example of mine is I went to graduate school to get my master's in mental health counseling, and then I had to get 3,000 hours of internship in order to become a licensed mental health professional. Well, I understood that it was going to take me some time. That wasn't going to be just, a 1 month process. That was a multi year process. I understood it, and I could say to other people, "Not yet. I'm working on it. I'm working on my internship hours." And people understood that. So I think not yet should be your partner because it says, "I'm working on it, but I haven't achieved it yet."
Hmm? So, like, is there a specific time when not yet helped you, or someone you like worked with reframe what felt like failure?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'll go back to running the marathon. There are there's a lot of it's a challenging thing to run a marathon, and certainly there were miles in there where have I hit the finish line? Not yet. But I knew I was going to finish, but I wasn't there yet. I had to struggle through some of those miles. And I can tell you, some miles went by quickly, and other miles seemed to take a really long time. I started to question whether they'd mismeasured because I'm like, I've got to be almost done mile 17 now, and I just don't see the mile 18 sign. But they didn't, and you have to just keep going, and you have to keep a positive frame of mind that you're going to achieve your goal. It oftentimes requires a fair amount of effort. That's not a bad thing, but we all have to keep in mind that if it was all really easy, we wouldn't appreciate the journey.
Hmm? You know, Xander, that perspective that growth takes time and permission is such a compassionate reframe.
Yeah, I think so. I believe that um, we need to be gentle with ourselves. And I laugh sometimes as I'm working with people because sometimes the meanest person in your life is yourself. The things that we say to ourselves on a daily basis, um, if our best friend said just one of those things, we'd probably be really hurt. And yet we have no problem saying to ourselves, maybe you have a thought of, "I'm not good enough. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
capable. I can't I can't do this. I don't know how to do this. Well, look, when I got up this morning, I certainly did not have all the answers to all the questions that I'm going to face today. But it doesn't stop me from getting out of bed and starting my day. So why should it stop you from achieving your epic goal, from going on an epic journey? We don't know, but that's part of the fun. It's the discovery of what the day holds.
I completely agree, Sander. Now, let's explore the 97-3 rule. How does this empower people to, focus on what they can control without getting overwhelmed by the rest?
Well, for me, the 97-3 rule goes like this. I believe that 97% of your day is really good, and up to
Mm-hmm.
3% on most days isn't good. Now, certainly there are days, we all have days where it may be a lot more than 3%. You just have a bad day. That happens. But in general, I believe 97% of your day is good. And yet, there seems to be a fairly common human condition of focusing on the 3% that didn't go right and ignoring the 97 that did go right. Um, when I was doing my internship, I was working in a school base. I was working with high school students and providing mental health counseling. And a lot of them had some academic issues. And to help them have the right perspective, I asked them what their least favorite subject was. And I'll just take math as an example that I got often. And I asked them, if you got a 97 on your next test, how would you feel? Oh, I would feel so excited. My parents would be proud. I'd tell my friends. I would be ecstatic. And then I asked, would you complain about the 3 points you didn't get? And they're like, are you kidding? I got a 97. I would be, who cares about those 3 points? Well, why are we forgetting about the 97% of our day that is good? All the things that did go right. Yes, some things don't go quite to plan, but that doesn't mean that you're not doing really well today. Focus on all the things that are going right because so many more things are going right in your day than aren't.
Hmm? Xander, the way you broke it down is remarkable.
Oh, thank you. Well, I try and make it relatable. I like to, I use lots of analogies because I think in teaching people that helps so that when you're not listening, but it comes up, you have something that reminds you, oh, yes, I remember that. And let me break it down a different way just to help give even better perspective. In baseball, if your lifetime batting average is over 300, you oftentimes will make it into the Baseball Hall of Fame. And I am not discounting how challenging it is for someone to have a overall lifetime batting average of 300. But that basically means that you got one hit every three times you went up to bat. Let's look at it in our own life. Let's say there's 9 hours in your day between work and living your own life that you're doing some kind of activities. And for you to have a Hall of Fame day, all you have to do is have 3 of those hours be successful, and you have a Hall of Fame day. I think you'd all agree that's not a particularly high bar. So why shouldn't we all be having Hall of Fame days all the time? We can and we do. We just have to acknowledge that we had a Hall of Fame day.
Hmm. That release that we don't need to control everything is the relief many listeners need.
Yes, yes. I mean, I mindset is so important in the way that we view situations is key. Um, I like to say that if the right now where I am, the sun is out, I think that's a great thing. But let's say I was a farmer and we'd been having a drought. I might view the sun being out as not being a positive thing. But the sun
Mhm.
being out isn't in and of itself good or bad. It's how I'm interpreting that situation. So in our own situations, if the way we look at it and our mindset can change it, can change how we're viewing it. Is it positive or is it negative? And if it's negative, ask yourself, well, why is it negative? Why does it have to be a negative thing? Look, sometimes it is. Sometimes we all have, frankly, a really bad day. But I think most days aren't bad. I think they're good. And if we focus on that and we focus on the good, I don't know. For me, it just is it's so much better.
Mhm. So your work it also touches on grief, especially like sibling loss. So how do this affect principles like small steps, not yet, and the 97.3 rule support someone navigating deep grief?
Well, grief is, always hard because everyone's grief journey is different and there isn't a right way to grieve. So, as I'm working with people uh, through grief, uh, I like to encourage people, and I'll say my spin on the kind of the 97.3 rule is I, I like to encourage people to celebrate the rainbow that was whoever they lost's life. I'll give a personal example. 28 years ago, my older sister died, and although that is terrible, and I miss her every day, she was 30 years old. She had 30 wonderful years, and for me, it's a lot more rewarding to spend my time focusing on the rainbow that was her life, the great things that she did, the person that she was, the things that she achieved, versus just solely focusing on the dot at the end of that rainbow that was her death. And that's what I encourage people to do because it feels so much better to, and again, it's that 97.3 thing. Why am I focusing just on this one negative thing? It is really negative. I am not discounting losing my sister, but she had a great life. Shouldn't I celebrate that? I think I should.
Absolutely, that's admirable, Xander. That's remarkable. So is there one message of hope you share with those feeling, stuck in the grief journey?
Well, oftentimes it's not just one message, but it depends on where they are in their grief journey. Um, but I think um, the way that I keep my sister alive in my life is to remember her and to talk about her often. Tell stories with people who knew her. And the stories I want to emphasize should not just be only the good things. Because you want to know what? I love my sister very much, but she was not a saint. And there were times where she wasn't very nice to me as a younger brother. And the good and the bad. She was a person just like you and I are people, and we have good days and bad days, and times where we're not as nice to our siblings or to our friends, and that's okay. Remember the whole person. Remember the whole rainbow. Um, because that's how we keep them alive in our life. If we never speak their name, if we never have their picture out, we never talk about them, it's as if they were never part of your life. And for me, My sister was an important part of my life. That chapter ended way too soon, in my opinion, but she was still part of my life. And our sibling relationship's the longest relationship we'll have in our life. So shouldn't we honor that even if they're not here?
Hmm. That inside that healing isn't linear but layered is a balm for so many hearts.
I think so. I think so. And understand that as I said, your grief journey is yours. There's not a right way or a wrong way to do it. The different people choose different ways to grieve and to remember, and we need to give space and grace for people to be on their journey and for us to support them.
Hmm. Zander Sprague, you reminded us that living an epic life is about progress, not perfection. With one small step, the mindset of not yet, and the 97-3 rule, you can navigate life's twists and turns with resilience, clarity, and hope. So, all our listeners, here's an invitation. Take one small, brave step forward. Your epic journey starts today.